The God Emperor of mankind, the immortal, despotic ruler of the Imperium of Man. A man, and yet something infinitely more, working towards a grand design that will change humanity forever, and all, seemingly, for the sake of its salvation. Warhammer's God Emperor and his inspiration found in Dune's own God Emperor, Leto II, is easy to see from the surface. Even beyond their titles and similar theme of an overarching goal for the future of mankind, both God Emperors share the mentality that the ends justify the means, and that it is they alone that know what must be done to achieve their ultimate purpose in saving humanity on a galactic scale. And while the purpose of the two God Emperors is, in spirit, the same, alongside their cruel methods, the ways in which they want to achieve the eternal survival of humanity consist of two opposites. Two roads that lead for one God Emperor to success, while for the other to failure. One highlighted within the vision of a golden path, while the other of imperial truth. As I mentioned, the influences of Dune on Warhammer 40k are well known, and easy to see if you've experienced both works. The condemnation of artificial intelligence and the ancient conflict against the machines, a guild monopolizing faster-than-light travel, intergalactic holy wars, god emperors, and feudal imperiums are just the tip of the iceberg. Within that proverbial iceberg of similarities, however, we find a stark difference when it comes to the ultimate plan of the two central figures of Dune and Warhammer 40,000, the god emperors themselves. In order to truly understand, let us explain their vision for humanity before comparing their merits. The God Emperor of Dune was the ultimate Kwisatz Haderach. He held within him true prescience, and the genetic memories and sight of all that had come before was happening currently and would occur in the times to come, giving him the ability to calculate the future with such mathematical precision that he discovered his golden path, the salvation of humanity from tyranny and extinction. Leto had seen and foreseen the danger that a tyrant could bring to humanity, and especially a tyrant bearing his gifts. He, or it, would be unstoppable and turn the race of man into its own personal plaything and ultimately destroy us. Thus, Leto dedicated his entire existence, spanning over 3,000 years, turning himself into a nearly inhuman monster in order to achieve his goal of saving humanity from someone like himself, or worse, as he had witnessed the death of mankind in the dark and terrifying future. One small, narrow golden path was all that was left, able to avoid what was to come. Therefore, he set about to keep the essence of humanity alive by producing a human being that was immune to prescience itself. He engineered one of the cruelest and most oppressive regimes imaginable, with himself at the hated top, and pushed and pushed and pushed humanity as much as he could until it snapped, forcefully, into the necessary evolutionary level required to save itself from the annihilation of the future. The God Emperor Leto II, while simultaneously overseeing the necessary genetic programs in the background, turned himself into humanity's greatest villain, so that it could learn from the tragedy of his cruelty and rise above both him and prescience. His efforts, while painful, were successful and led to the birth of Siona Atreides, the very first carrier of genes able to counteract prescience, which were carried onto the future, the golden path complete, and Leto's sacrifice and efforts not in vain, just as he had foreseen. While there is a lot more to be said about the details or philosophy of what Leto did, let us first see the basics of the other God Emperor's plans before we can compare them. The God Emperor of mankind has existed for tens of thousands of years, and has witnessed human civilization in nearly all of its stages, from the first ever cities to humanity's first galactic empire. Though he is much older than Leto II, he does not bear the knowledge of everyone who has ever lived, going back millions of years, nor does he have the ability to see the future, or even the present at times, like Leto could, or at least not with the same precision. In this, the God Emperor of mankind is at a disadvantage when it comes to the information from which he is basing his plans and vision. But what are these plans? Throughout his existence, the God Emperor had seen strife burn at the hearts of men, and he saw its cause to be organized religion, or any religious feeling. When he revealed himself as Emperor of mankind, he sought to purge religion throughout the galaxy and establish his own imperial truth, the official state ideology of the Imperium of Man. The imperial truth was atheistic in essence, and it relied upon the values of rationalism and logic above all, with the emperor wishing to emphasize these traits so as to bring humanity to a new golden age of science, advancement, and technology. He saw religion and superstition as a hindrance to the unlocking of mankind's true potential, and he wished his people to abandon any spirituality within them, instead focusing on everything material. The emperor saw this ideology of secularism, which propelled the usage of the scientific method, as the key to creating a mankind strong enough to withstand the horrors of the galaxy and what was to come. In this, the emperor miscalculated. While the philosophy of whether humans require spirituality and religion to function extends beyond Warhammer and into the real world, what can be said for certain within the context of Warhammer itself is that the supernatural objectively exists. Souls, demons, sorceries, dark gods, and different planes of existence are all there as objective fact. The emperor saw the general belief in non-material things as holding humanity back from advancement and leading into superstition, and so he declared all of them a lie, even though at least some of them were in fact very real. Nonetheless, the scientific approach of the imperial truth for the short while that the emperor's imperium lasted did advance humanity significantly. Though of course, in order to achieve his truth, the emperor had to exterminate anyone who disagreed with his vision for humanity, the exact thing that he accused of religious fanatics who had waged war in ages past in the name of their faith. There was, however, despite its promise, a catastrophic flaw within the imperial truth. While yes, humanity largely no longer believed in gods, we instead started to believe in the will and the benevolence and the wisdom of our emperor, and he, ironically, started to fill the void that he himself had caused. Though in most cases this had simply translated itself into unrelenting loyalty, for some it became a true religion and faith that believed in the divinity of the emperor of mankind, of the God Emperor, if you will. The emperor cracked down upon this so harshly, so oppressively, that he ironically, yet again, sowed the seeds for the future rebellion and divergence from his truth. The Horus heresy revealed to the world that the imperial truth was in fact the imperial lie, and the supernatural did exist. The ruinous powers of chaos used the unpreparedness of humanity in the supernatural and their need to believe in something greater than themselves, and they turned mankind to evil and the Imperium's greatest tragedy, the Horus heresy. In a way, the Emperor's age of enlightenment had actually brought forth enlightened ignorance. How the Emperor administered his great lie, or imperial truth, directly led to the genocide of billions, the eradication of planet after planet, only for it to lead to a civil war that ultimately brought humanity to its knees, with the Emperor incapacitated forever and, most ironically of all, with his inability to oppress religion, he himself became the head of the new state religion of the Imperium of Man as God Emperor, worshipped for the past 10,000 years. His wish to eradicate religious thought and force his materialist technological paradise for the future survival of humanity led to chaos corrupting his favorite son Horus and his Astartes, ultimately leading to his own downfall, the establishment of a religion in his name, while he could do nothing about it. And now, the Imperium of Man exists as a theocratic, totalitarian regime that pridefully proclaims everything that its emperor stood against, and his imperial truth, effort, and sacrifice in vain, with humanity continuously in the brink of utter annihilation in the grim future of the 41st millennium. Though of course, humanity, even so many millennia later, is still around, still with its head high, and as strong as it can be given the circumstances, so perhaps the Emperor did not fail to the extent you would originally believe, though maybe still he had no true role to play in it. Through the lenses of the lore of both Dune and Warhammer, you can see where the differences and similarities of the two God Emperors lay. Leto and the God Emperor were both incredibly cruel and committed atrocities innumerable. Ultimately though, it seems that the Golden Path was the successful vision, brought about by Leto's complete self-sacrifice and dedication. The God Emperor, on the other hand, seems to have failed utterly when it came to his vision, though not through lack of trying. He performed unspeakable deeds to uphold his truth, and yet his lie was flawed from the start and left the humanity spiritually unprotected from the grip of chaos. Half of his forces and beloved sons turned against him, and he was left a rotting corpse atop his golden throne, ultimately to be worshipped as a god, the very antithesis of everything he stood for and believed. Despite this, however, on a literary level, I come to see the God Emperor with more sympathy. While obviously a character heavily influenced from Dune's Leto, the God Emperor feels a lot more relatable. He's arrogant, ambitious, and ruthless. He's completely hypocritical, and yet he does love humanity, and does think his way is the best way forward for all mankind. Yet, he's not prescient like Leto, and he miscalculated again and again. He is betrayed and fatally wounded, and as a result, his Imperium turns into everything he stood against, all in his name. And so, while Leto, perhaps due to his unique talents of full prescience and in his transformation into the worm, was able to create a true salvation for humanity, the God Emperor of mankind, through his halo and golden armor, is still just a man, able to achieve greatness and, most importantly, sometimes fail. A massive thank you to my channel members, and thank you very much for watching.